The RTX 4090 is already obsolete and we're getting a new GPU already? Let's talk about it. Wow! Alright, well, it looks like we are going to have a ton of stories to go over today, so let's start off by talking about the upcoming RTX 4070. That's right, if you've been considering buying the RTX 4070 Ti, please don't do it yet because there could be a far better value GPU coming out in the near future. Now, will the 4070 be overpriced? Of course it'll be overpriced, but that being said, that doesn't mean it couldn't be a lot better value than the RTX 4070 Ti, which, let's be honest, the 4070 Ti and 4080 are insultingly overpriced. So if the 4070 is a little bit less overpriced, well, it might actually be a decent price to performance uplift over the RTX 30 series despite the price increase. Because yes, there's almost certainly going to be a price increase of some sort, but it might be a little bit less than you were expecting. So let's go ahead and talk about it now. This information actually originally came from a WCCF Tech article, which of course I will have linked in the description below. But if we go ahead and we take a look at their article, we can see here they say, quote, "This card is expected to be the next major release by Team Green, and it looks like some manufacturers have already started testing their boards." According to Matthew Smith of Tech PowerUp, who's responsible for maintaining the GPU database at that tech outlet, clock speeds for a few variants seem to have been confirmed. And we can see here he posted over on Twitter, quote, "Reference RTX 4070 has a base clock of 1920 and 2475 boost. First AIB to finish a 4070 is colorful with their Ultra W OC line boost of 2505 megahertz. So yeah, there you have some information on what the boost clocks of the 4070 could look like. But good news for you, you tuned into today's video because I'm going to go ahead and pull up some charts that I've been putting together about the RTX 4070 with a lot of inside baseball. Woo! And of course, I'm going to have basically all the information on the 4070, all the specs, what the pricing's likely going to be. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Although I will give you a disclaimer, this is based off of stuff I've heard, some rumors, and a little bit of speculation, so it might not be 100% accurate when the full thing comes out, but I've been very, very close on all of the other GPUs that have come out so far, so I expect it to once again be very, very close to this. So taking a look at the specs here, we can see that the 4070 is going to be based off of the 8104 die, have 46 SMs for a total CUDA core count of 5,888, a 2.5 gigahertz boost clock, 10 gigabytes of G6 memory running at 18 gigabits per second on a 160-bit bus, although I have heard rumor that it could be up to 21 gigabits per second, and I have also heard some other people speculating that it could be 12 gigabytes as well. Personally, I'm going to say 10 because I do know that SKU did exist at one point. However, we'll have to wait and see whether or not it is 10 or 12. But if it does turn out to be 10 on a 160-bit bus, what we're talking about is going to be a measly 360 gigabytes per second. So hopefully it will be on a larger bus and I end up being wrong. But if that's going to be true, yes, it probably won't be the best 4K card. However, at 1440p with the extra cache it has, it could actually be very good because we can see here that it is going to have 48 megabytes of this stuff and a TDP of 220 watts. So again, at 1440p, this could be an absolutely fantastic card. And with 10 gigabytes of video memory, that should allow you to max out the graphics settings on current games. Although in the future, 10 gigabytes could end up being a somewhat limiting factor. So again, I hope it does go 12, but so far I'm sticking with 10. But now let's move on to the price and performance of this thing because we all know that the price is gonna be fantastic. So taking a look, yes, we're talking about roughly somewhere around $600 for the RTX 4070. Is it ridiculous? Absolutely. I thought $500 was too much for the 3070, but hey, it is what it is. This is what we're living with now because apparently everybody thought that, you know, paying $2,000 for a 3080 was a good idea back when mining was happening. So this is the reality we have to live with for now, unless everybody chooses to boycott them, which looks like so far is happening a little bit with the RTX 40 series, but probably not enough to keep prices the same as the 30 series, when it comes to 4070 and below. Although I do have some good news, $600 comparatively is going to be less of a price increase versus when you look at the 4070 Ti and the 4080. So while $600 is expensive, it probably will end up being the best price to performance card in the lineup. And speaking of performance, I'm expecting this thing to fall short of the 3080 by probably somewhere around 10%. So if we're talking about around RTX 3080 performance and then you do get DLSS 3, it could actually be worth picking up the RTX 4070 at $600, although it is a price increase. Once again, and I don't like that. Well, you compared to the launch price of the 3080, that was $700. This is $600. If it gives you roughly around the same performance and more features, yeah, I do think that the value is going to be there. It will be an improvement in terms of price to performance versus the RTX 3080, especially if it comes with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. If that's the case, I actually could see it matching or even maybe exceeding the RTX 3080 in certain titles. Now, if you're wondering about a release date, the RTX 4070 is likely going to land sometime around March. Now, I was originally thinking February, but the closer and closer we inch and slide towards February, it's starting to seem like that's probably not going to be the case. So I would say probably early to mid-March, expect the RTX 4070 to come in, and hopefully we'll get it for $600 or less, because if it's more than $600, that's going to be a big buff hard pass from me. But now let's talk about, is the RTX 4090 already obsolete? Somebody sound the alarm! I'm gonna lose my mind. Of course the RTX 4090 is not gonna become, completely useless tomorrow. That's not gonna be the case. If you purchase one, do not worry. Don't fall too far into the panic zone. It'll still be good. However, there is going to be a new card coming out very soon that will be exceeding its performance. And of course, as everybody knows, if you're not first, you're last. So it'll be time to throw that 4090 right into the garbage. No, of course it's not. But that being said, the RTX 4090 Ti has been leaked, and guys, it is looking really, really good, although I do have some concerns that we will talk about. Now, we can see here that the first image was actually leaked over on Twitter by Mega Size GPU of what appears to be an RTX 4090 Ti or Titan. Now, I will say that this does kind of look a little bit more like a Titan to me. However, it definitely could be the 4090 Ti. Now, the reason why I say Titan is because, as you can see here, the display ports in HDMI are actually aligned vertically rather than horizontally. And not only is this very, very unusual, but when it comes to putting water blocks on a GPU, this would definitely cause some issues. And it would also cause a problem for people trying to fit it in their systems. Personally, I actually would not be able to fit this in my system, so no matter how fast it is, I would not be able to upgrade to this card if they do choose to align those display ports vertically. So I definitely hope that's not the case on the final revision of the 4090 Ti, but what we're looking at right here, that does appear to be the case. And like I mentioned, trying to put a water block on this thing could definitely cause some issues. So with that in mind, it's definitely gonna have to be a large performance increase, considering that you will have to have 4 slots in your case to fit this dang GPU. So is it gonna be a large performance increase? Well, when I crunch the numbers, guys, we're talking about just over 18,000 shaders. I believe the current rumor, if we go ahead and we take a look at some other leaks here, specifically from Copite7Kimi, is that it's gonna have 18,176 FP32 cores and 96 megabytes of L2 cache. Now, 18,000 is a pretty decent increase of what we're seeing over the RTX 4090. In fact, not only should it be over 10% more shaders, but we should also be seeing much higher clock speeds, again, more L2 cache, and then we're also going to be seeing higher clock speeds on the memory, coming from 21 gigabits per second on the 4090 all the way up to 24 gigabits per second on the 4090 Ti. So there could be a significant uplift in terms of performance depending on how scaling works out. So I'm expecting a bare minimum of 10% higher performance out of the 4090 Ti. That's not too exciting. It could be as high as 15%, maybe in select titles like as high as 20% if it scales like perfectly and the clock speeds end up exceeding what we're expecting. However, realistically, we're probably talking around 10 to 15% faster than the RTX 4090. So is it worth rearranging your whole PC or building an entirely new PC to fit the RTX 4090 Ti and getting a new water block and making sure you have enough power, getting a bigger power supply, because this thing allegedly can hit up to 600 watts, although I will mention so can the RTX 4090 if you unlock the sliders. lighter, so I think what I'm hearing right now is actually 475 watts up from 450. Again, still extra wattage out of this thing. It'll probably draw on average quite a bit more than the 4090. Is it worth upgrading to the 4090 Ti? And honestly, guys, I'm going to tell you no. If this thing does actually draw more power, is far more expensive, and is going to take up way more room in your case, personally, even as a business expense, I could not justify purchasing this card realistically even to do testing on. So if I can't justify it as a business expense to do testing on, at that point, I'm going to say, even if you're an ultra enthusiast, it's probably not a good idea to wait for or purchase the RTX 4090 Ti. If you have a 4090, I would say just enjoy the 4090 and wait to see if they do a super refresh with even higher performance. If we're talking about 20+% more performance, that's where it starts to become worth, redoing a water cooling loop or making sure you have enough room or a better power supply to get that extra performance.
If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and Nvidia release new GPUs. Also, if you want to see more, check out one of these related videos. You won't be disappointed.